This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so good morning, team. In today's session, we will talk about Databricks Asset Bundles, right? So these are short name is dApps. So remember, these dApps are recently renamed as a declarative automation bundles. Okay. So in order to understand what is dApps, okay, what type of files we will be using in these dApps, how it will be helpful for DevOps CI/CD process. So in order to understand all these things, so first I divided this entire session into first part one, right? We will be discussing about what are the prerequisites. Okay. Part two, we will talk about what is dApps, or you can say declarative automation bundle or Databricks asset bundle, anything you can call it as, but short name is not changed. Okay, DAB, right? Short name is not changed, whether it is a Databricks asset bundle or declarative automation bundle, the short name is not changed. So today we will understand what is DABs and how it will be helpful for us. Then I will talk about part three, what is YAML file or YAML file, both are any extension you can use. What is YML or YAML files we will discuss. Part 4, I will show you commands that we are using for commands that are required for deploying dApps and Git. Okay, Git. So Git commands, I am going to talk about it. Then I will talk about part 5, creating dApps project in Databricks and deploying into dev environment we will discuss. Okay, this is the part 5 we will be discussing. Once this is completed, okay, once this is completed, team, next I will talk about part 6, how we can able to deploy our code from dev environment to production environment using DevOps pipeline. Okay, team. So this is what we are going to discuss in today's session as a 6 parts. First part, let me start, team. So if we start with this, right, first part, I already made all the documents ready for us to quickly complete this. So you need to understand, in order to go for this, right, first you need to understand the prerequisites. The prerequisites are, you need to understand Azure DevOps. What is Azure DevOps, team? It is a platform for DevOps practices, meaning whatever developers are developing, those developed resources or assets we need to deploy into the production, so that that particular code in the production environment, if that is running in the production environment, means your operations team, the production, the end users are going to use this. Okay, here DevOps is a practices which include which includes our source code, source control, like you can use a GitHub or Azure DevOps repository. What we will be doing, we will be maintaining all the code that is developed by developers. Then using a CI/CD pipelines, we'll be continuously integrating, meaning continuously building that particular code. And the CD means continuously deploying into the production, so that this code available for the end users. In order to access DevOps resources, you can access a URL called aex.dev.azure.com. So what you can do in the aex.dev.azure.com is, we can create a DevOps organization you belongs to. For example, you belongs to an organization called Cloudpandith. You can create a Cloudpandith organization. So once you create your DevOps organization, within DevOps organization, you can switch the like your accounts. You can create a multiple projects. In maybe in an organization, you may have a multiple projects, right? So you can able to manage your DevOps profile. You can create a multiple users to manage the organization. First, you will log in into the DevOps. Under DevOps, first you will create an organization. Under organization you will be creating projects. Under project we will be creating the repository where we will be maintaining our code. Okay, so that is all about the DevOps. Next, that is a prerequisite. You should have knowledge already. As part of our training, we have seen how you can able to integrate our Databricks workspace, right? Next, when it comes to the Azure portal, already you know portal.azure.com. It is a unified web console for building, managing, monitoring everything from simple web apps to complex cloud data engineering deployments, right? So you can create a storages, you can create data factory, Databricks, many other things you can create within this particular portal. Next, so you need to understand Databricks account console, accounts.azuredatabricks.net. This is the URL which will be a, you can say it is account console for the admins, where admins can create a new user, they can create a new groups, they can create a new service principals, they can control the permissions, they can create a new meta stores, right? So they can control building. Many things are controlled from the accounts.azuredatabricks.net. I hope you have part of our training. We were creating the meta stores, we were configuring our own meta stores, we are removing the meta stores. What is happening in the Databricks we have seen, right? So this is the place we will be maintaining our users, groups, service principal. Today I'll show you how you can able to create your groups, how you can create a service principal, how your users and service principal will be helping us to get a permission and deploy the code to the other environment also. I am going to show you. So I'll give you this document, you can go through, because I don't want to put more focus on theory. So that's why I'm just summarizing the things. Next, service principle. As you know, service principle in Azure is basically a non-human identity, meaning instead of using a particular employee username and password, we will be creating a application identity. So if you use a particular employee username and password for authentication, that employee can leave the organization at any time. So later all your production will break, right? So that is not the good way or production grade development. So that's why we generally will not hard code any username and password. Instead we will be setting up app registration, where we have a app which we can able to use to grant the required permission, so that this app will be always available. So without a service principal, you would have to use your personal username and password, but this is risky because user can able to leave the organization at any time. But with the service principal, pipeline has its own dedicated identity. It can authenticate independently 24/7. Permissions are managed separately and scoped to only what is needed. You can grant when permissions are required. But how to grant? Let's say I created a service principal, meaning one identity I created. Now, how you can grant the permission is you need to grant a RBAC at a subscription level, resource group level, storage account level, key vault level. You can grant the permission. So these four things are the prerequisite you should have to. Okay, what we discussed, Tim? We discussed firstly DevOps URL, and the use of DevOps is where we will be maintaining our code repository, right? And deployment of DevOps pipeline we will be developing. Next, portal.azure.com, where you will be creating your Azure resources like Databricks, storage accounts, and the access controls. Many other things will be creating. Third one is account console, where you will be maintaining all your administrative part. You can create a new groups, you can create a service principals, you can grant the required permission. you can maintain metastore and all. So finally, service principle, you have seen the advantage of the service principle is it is independent. It is not dependent on any person or any employee. So it is independent. Even if any employee leaving the organization, it will not create any problem to us. It will authenticate 24/7. You can grant a required permission at subscription, resource group, storage account, and keyword level. Next, what are the other prerequisites? So you should know what is Unity catalog, what is Metastore catalog, table, external location, storage credentials. As part of our training, already we created our credentials, creation of external locations, right? Then all those things we have already created. Finally, so we need to have a Visual Studio Code or PyCharm for bringing your code from the repository to local storage into your local. Once you get your things into your local, you want to work creating the new branches, you want to check out, you want to add a new files changes, you want to commit those changes, you want to push those changes. So you need to know the git commands. So you don't have to worry. You just I will show you how you can enable to install VS Code and installing the git also in local. It is very simple. Just you need to search for download git and click next. It will be done. Okay. So these are the prerequisites, team. That is what our part one. We have now completed what are the prerequisites for this particular session. Anybody have any doubts before I move on to the next? Anybody have any doubts, Tim, before I move on?